Now, if you've watched the previous episode, you'll know that Bob spent his day rummaging around the KSC for science. There we go. Reveal the vehicle inside. Now, the problem with it being quite so long is it does tend to flex quite a bit. And that is going to prove a little bit of a problem. Now, getting to Minmus is a two-step activity. There we go. There's our encounter. So what do we end up with? All we have to do now is wait for Val and Bob to arrive at Minmus. Welcome back, everyone. We pick up where we left off. Bob and Val are on their way to Minmus. Now, we have a little bit of science, so let's go pick up that little bit of science. What have we got? We've got a crew report, so we'll take that and we will transmit it. There's a transmitter on the back of the little buggy here, so we will take that. Chatterer announces the transmission of that data, so thank you very much. So we have got all our manoeuvres sorted out. All we actually need to do now is arrive at Minmus. So let's go back to map mode and we can speed that up a bit by using the warp to handle for the sphere of influence. So if we click on the warp to handle, you can just see the image of Minmus there when we clicked on it, and here comes the our target, Minmus. See the little kink we have there around the planet. We will do a little bit of adjusting, I think, when we get inside Minmus's sphere of influence, just to correct our final approach. So there we go, down times 50 time warp, times 10, and there we go, just bleeding off the last little bit of time warp. Right, there we go. So we've got a little bit of time to go. So let's just put a bit of extra time warp in. Then when you warp to these handles, the change of sphere of influence ones, or to the maneuver node ones, they give you a little bit of a leeway, but not to periapsis and apoapsis. They don't, so bear that in mind. Right, now, we are now in the sphere of influence of Minmus. Now let's get the nav ball up, because that will tell us exactly what our orientation is. There we go. You can just see we are coming in pretty much equatorially, pretty much flat, but we've got plenty of science to do. So let's come out of map mode and do the science. So we've got a temperature scan. Keep that. Mystery goo. And what we'll do is we'll send Bob out to collect it and then reset the experiment. So you feel like eating the goo. You've got plenty of snacks, Bob. Oh, dear me. Materials study. So that's one of the, I think that's on the bottom, the materials study. I think this is the materials bay down here. There we go. So we will keep that one. The magnetometer's on the top for obvious reasons. So there we go. There's the magnetometer being extended. 12 science. We will transmit that, and that we will reset that experiment. It won't shut the or toggle the magnetometer, but it will shut it. Let's do a crew report as well, and then when this is finished transmitting, we will transmit that too. There we go. So let's transmit that. So we should see the transmitter come back up. Oh no, it didn't come back up. I must have transmitted it just as it was shutting down. But there we go. 5 data received for the crew report. So let's do the EVA report while we're here. So, where is he? Oh, he should be coming out of one of, I think it's that hatch there. Come on. Out you come. Okay, we'll do it by hand then. Was he coming? No? Go on, Bob. I think Bob's so excited, he doesn't want to come out. Ah, we're at time warp, that's why. Best slow down. Oops. Okay, now you can come out. There we go. Now we're out. So let's take the EVA report. Thank you. We will take that. We'll space to let go. R to get the RCS going. And let's just go down and pick up. I think we've got a pressure scan. Yeah, we should have a pressure scan in here. So that's in this one here on the side. down a bit. There we go. Just reach in. No, that's the magnetometer. Using his head here. There we go. Mystery goo. Mystery goo. Oh dear, come on. These instruments are so small. There we go. Oh, he's too far out of range. So let's just come back up again. There we go. So we'll take the temperature and we'll take the pressure data. Keep that. Did we collect it? Take the pressure data, there we go. So let's come back down and then across to, this is the bottom as we look at it, because there's the landing gear. So let's come across and there is our mystery goo container, and there's Minmus in the background. Excellent shot there of Minmus. So let's just take a quick look at that, send that back to Gene, and let's just pop up here and take the data and restore it. Now Bob may as well get ready for his big day, so he's going to pop forward here and get into our lander capsule. So let's bring him round the front here. There's Kerbin at the back there, looking a long way away. So how far are we away? Quite a fair way. F to grab. Yep, you can go in backwards if you want. There we go. Right, now we should find, there he is, there we should find Bob all ready to go. So he can shut up shop. So let's toggle the magnetometer. There we go. And we now need to get ready for our final arrival. So let's double click on Minmus to focus on it. And we'll put ourselves a maneuver node right here. We are coming down quite steeply, so let's pull ourselves in. There we go, and then level ourselves out. Not strictly necessary, but this will be our eventual orbit. So let's pull down a bit further. So we've got an apoapsis of 168 kilometers. So let's keep pulling back. There we go. So that's apoapsis 56 and 54. That's close enough for me. I think that's close enough. So what we will do now is we will warp to maneuver node. But what I think I'll do, get the KOS window up, because we're going to use our usual script, our node script. There we go. And then let us complete the approach. Got 1 hour 42, and according to this we'll be burning on 14 seconds of burn, and we're going to align on T-minus 67. So let's get ourselves approximately lined up. Just rotate ourselves round. There we go. There's the maneuver node. Try not to overshoot by too much. There we go. So we want to advance to T-minus 67. So that's 1 minute and 7 seconds. So let's bring up time warp. Just see our craft up here. Let's be very careful not to overshoot. Bring it down. There we go. 12 minutes to go. So we want to get this down to about 2, and then we'll finish off aligning. There we go. We've drifted a little bit, so let's just readjust. There we go. Then bring ourselves down to just over a minute so the script can complete its alignment activity. There we go. So it's just finishing the alignment, and then we'll burn on about 8 or 7 seconds to go. There we are. So where's Minmus? There we go, there's Minmus. Just make a record of our approach. Bring our KOS window back up. There we go. 45, so we can afford just to accelerate forward just a little bit more. It's only an 8-second burn. 14-second burn, there we go, 14-second burn. Here we go. A little bit of a rubbery bend there in Bob's craft. Hopefully he will be happy with that. So we can see our orbit curling in. There we are, we've been captured. 30 meters per second to go. And there we are. We are now in orbit. We've arrived, and we now have some of our contracts completed. Let's just clear that away. What contracts do we have? So, exploring Minmus, we have achieved orbit around Minmus, and that gave us 18,003 reputation. We have transmitted or recovered science from space around Minmus. At least if we recover our vehicle, we will. It's a little bit positive. It's a little bit assumptive. Is that a word? It's assuming we're going to get back with that science. And we have definitely at least flown by Minmus, and that's going to get us 133,000, 8 science and 17 reputation. Now, Bob couldn't really have collected this sort of science back at his little jaunt around the KSC, but it's only 8. So let us close this window and worry about the next phase of our landing. Now, we have to land somewhere. Somewhere where we can collect a whole load of science. Now, ideally, we want to land somewhere perhaps in one of these sort of flat areas. Then we've got sort of lowlands, highlands, slopes in this sort of area. Now, it's a little bit difficult to see how steep that will all be, but I reckon. That flag, by the way, is way out on the Mun, so the Mun must be out there somewhere. Is that the Mun? So the Mun is out there, so we haven't landed anywhere on Minmus yet. So I reckon we should have a go at landing somewhere here and then travelling in this direction. That the only problem with that is that with Minmus rotating this way, this will be in the dark. So it might be an idea to wait until this area has rotated into the light. So let's close this for a second and let's just advance time and just see what areas rotate into light. There we are, we're orbiting quite nicely, quite safely. We've got plenty of supplies. Here we go. This area is now coming into light. So if we do one more orbit, there we go, one more orbit, there we are. So let's slow down and let's plan to land somewhere. Let's say we land on this hill here. So we're going to have to divert off our trajectory, and of course with Minmus rotating this way, we're going to have to try landing way over here so that as Minmus rotates we'll end up here. The other option is to come to about here and then slam on the brakes really hard. But we will have to take quite a journey away from our current position. So why don't we put a maneuver node in here and just pull our orbit down a little so that we can get ourselves more over this point here. So let's just pull down. It's only a few meters per second, and we have plenty to go on. So there we go. Is that going to be... No, we probably need to go down a little bit further. There we go. We're raising our apoapsis a little bit, but still fairly round, so that should be fine. It's mainly for getting back. It's mainly for getting back. So I think we need to go down a little bit more. Try pulling it down. Let's go with that, and then we can do some final adjustments when we arrive. So where are we? Where are we relative? We're almost there. Node in, well, there we go. Node in 1 minute. So with such a small burn, let's not even use my script. Let's just get ourselves ready. And what I think we'll do is we'll line up our craft. Which way should we line it up? Let's line it up so we are facing south. And we will detach the buggy and do the rest of the manoeuvre just with Bob in the buggy. And we will leave Val serenely orbiting above. There we go. Now it might mean this calculation being based on this engine is now completely wrong, but it doesn't really matter. So let's control from here. Let's control from here. There we go. Control from here. Quick save. Quick save. And then let's just clear those away. There we go. And then reach in here and decouple. There we go. Put the RCS on and just push away. And because we decoupled by hand, we will activate this engine. There we go. So we are pointing pretty much straight down. 44 seconds to go to the node. Now it doesn't really matter, I guess. So let's just go out to this view and just start puffing away with the engine. Just run off that 14-15 meters per second. A little bit further perhaps. There we go, that should be good. There we are. So Val is serenely orbiting on. And we, hopefully, are going to arrive somewhere over here. So let's just make sure we have an eye on our supplies. Bob's been snacking already. So we've got I think that's 3 days worth of snacks. That should be fine. 3 days to come down, do the science, and then get back up to meet Val. And we have plenty of electricity, including our spare battery, plenty of monopropellant, and hopefully plenty of fuel. We've got almost 800 Delta V. So hopefully that should be plenty to get down and get back up. So let's see how well we did. So let's now pull down on this retrograde marker. We're going to be a little bit high, so let's pull down. There we go. Now, as I say, Minmus is rotating, so by the time we reach the maneuver node, which we can warp to with a 3-minute margin, you can see how far Minmus is rotated. So we will actually extend, I think we will extend. When this drops back down to 1, we will extend our manoeuvre node again, so it's around about here, because I don't want to have to go all the way over and drive all the way down here. So if I can land pretty much there, great. So let's just extend our manoeuvre node a little bit. It's actually reducing the total amount of Delta V that we need. So hopefully, I don't want to go too short either. So let's get ready. So let's turn ourselves around. We've got the RCS on, just help us turn, since we don't have any SAS, because Bob's not a pilot. Looking a bit dark in his capsule. So there we go. We're all lined up and ready to go. So let's go. It's going to be 17-second burn with our current engine. So let's get ourselves to about 20, so we can can just see if we need to make any final adjustments. So let's accelerate on. There we go. So I don't think it's going to rotate too much in the remainder of the time. I really don't want to have to come back up. Oh dear, that's my... I'd rather be short. I'd rather be long and end up over here than short, end up having to go up and then back down again. That would be so much of a waste. So what we're going to do is we are just going to run out this 70 odd 80 delta V and just watch as our maneuver ends up around about here. So I'm not really too fussed around how long it takes to run this out, just the direction we need to be facing and where we are about to land. So we're landing over here just on the edge of dawn, and we want to finish up around about there. So there we go, let's end there. Right, so we are definitely going to land. We might find ourselves landing a bit short, which will be a bit of a pain, but one thing at a time. We've actually got to get down. So can we see our landing spot? We're facing almost retrograde now, so this is, we want to be landing here. That's where we want to land. So let's just accelerate time a little and see how much Minmus is going to rotate in the meantime. Looks like we might be landing a little bit short. So let's see, which direction do we need to face if we were to put in a new maneuver in order to move it out. So there we go. We need to be moving in this direction over this way. So let's just puff on the engine and just move that back out a bit. There we go. That should be just fine. So let's have a look where we're going. So we're going to be landing on this sort of plateau here, which I'm hoping will be some form of highlands. Let's turn ourselves around, get ourselves orientated. Don't really need the RCS for this, so let's not waste it. But we are getting some science, so we might as well pick up some science while we are at it. So where are we? There we go. So what science have we got? Temperature scan, which we will keep. Mystery goo, which we'll keep as well. There we go. Mystery goo. Magnetometer, which I think we can transmit. So we'll transmit that and then shut up shop for the landing. So we'll transmit that and then we will toggle, if I can grip it, toggle the magnetometer. We'll do atmospheric pressure scan. We'll do a crew report, which we can also transmit. And we can do an EVA report, rather precarious, but we can do an EVA report. So let's take that. Thank you. And then it's board. So there we go. We're boarded. We'll worry about these doors later. That's not too much of a problem. Let's get the gears out and the brake on. Check on the map. Looks like we're still going to come down safely on top of this plateau. There we are. We're aiming for this plateau, so we're probably going to end up around about here. So hopefully we'll still be on the plateau. And then what we'll do is we'll trundle down here and maybe get some lowlands or flats down here. So what's that, 2 or 3 biomes we should be able to get science from. Now the next thing we need to look at is our suicide burn, suicide altitude distance. These figures up here, because what we're going to do, we're not going to do a suicide burn because I am not. Well, I don't trust Bob to complete that manoeuvre. So what we're going to do is we are going to basically do a suicide burn when this gets to sort of 1,000 meters, and then incrementally do smaller and smaller suicide burns. So rather than just sort of dribbling out fuel now and wasting it completely, we will waste it when we're nearer the surface. So let's just keep check on our altitude. Now we can and our position. So let's just bring ourselves down a little bit more quickly. We've got 15 kilometers before we need to worry about doing our suicide burn. So that's pretty much most of the length of this line. We are slowly moving towards the edge. Now, what other science has just popped up? Another EVA report. Well, I don't think I'm going to risk another EVA report right now, with being so close to the ground. So we've got 6.5 kilometres to our suicide burn distance. So let's keep ourselves locked on our retrograde marker. The altitude above the surface for the suicide burn is 2.5 kilometres. So now the tension rises. So there we go, 4.5 kilometres. So we'll go to about 1 kilometre and then we will hit the throttle and send it to maximum. Make sure we're on surface speed, 152. No, we're not taking that science, so you can stop beeping at me. So there we go, 2.5 kilometres. Ready on the throttle for when that gets to 1. This is, I think we're starting to see some scatter. So we're starting to resolve very small objects on the ground. 1.5 kilometres. Are you ready? Ready, Bob? Hold on. There we go. So let's keep ourselves on the retrograde marker, and we should find ourselves hovering a few hundred feet above the surface. So we want this to go down to almost, but not quite, just above, a dribble above 0. It really doesn't look like it's going to do it, but I trust Kerbal Engineer Redux to do it. There we go, just under 100 meters per second. There we go, 60 meters per second. Just follow the retrograde marker up. I'm going to put the SAS on, so we're ready for some very tight manoeuvring near the surface. So there we go, we're almost down to 20 meters per second, so I'm going to be ready to kill. Let's kill now, because we're starting to go a little bit off track. And suicide burn distance is 500 meters, or 500 meters to suicide burn. So we can, there's our shadow, you can see our shadow right there. So we're only going 12 meters per second. And distance to burn is 400 meters, so we'll give it another kick at 100. And then we'll be very, very careful for the rest of the way. So we're down to 300. God, this is getting so close. 20 meters per second. Do you know what? I don't trust it. So we're going straight down. 9 meters per second. I'm going to dribble it out now. So we're going to basically land on our engine. That's what I'm attempting to do. Land right on the engine and then flip over. So there we go. 5 meters per second. You can see our shadow right there. 4 meters per second. Let's just drop the throttle a little bit because we don't want it going back up. Don't know what Bob's looking so happy about. I suppose he can't see where he's going. 2.5 meters a second. Just gently, very, very gently. We've got a bit of a slope. We're going to be going down the slope. There we go, 0.8 of a meter. There we go, 1 meter a second. We're just going to touch down really gently on the engine. Let's just make sure we stay vertical. So there's no landing on the side. Here we go. 2 meters per second. Just coming down very gently. .6 meters per second. 1.5. Just slow down a little bit more. Just under 1 meter a second now. Half a meter per second. This is about the most gentle I've ever landed on anything. There we go, 0.3. We're drifting a little bit downhill. And so let's turn her over. Kill the engine. And there we go, we're down. Just a smidgen of a bounce. Turn off the SAS. Just so she settles on the ground. Brilliant. Well done, Bob. Oh, that was tense. That was so tense. But we're down. Excellent. Now we do have some experiments that have already been done, which is a little bit of a pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an EVA report first, collect all that science, and then do a whole lot of science first. So let's do the EVA report. So we're going to be flying. Where are we going to be flying? EVA report. Flying over the lowlands. Okay, we're in lowlands now, so let's pick that up. Let's drop down. And there we go. The Grumph bug has landed, so well done. Well done, Bob. Let's plant a flag. Grumph bug was here. Geez, he's planting it rather slowly. He must be a bit tired. Not enough snacks. So there we go. Let's label this. Grumph bug was here. Well done. So let's take a, just as proof, nobody believes a flag on the Minmus proves a thing. So let's just take ourselves a little bit of a snapshot. Come on, turn around, Bob. Face the sign. There we go, the flag even. Or face the camera. Right, so let's, there we go. Bob was here too. Well done, Bob. Right, so that's Bob. That's the cosmetic things done. Let's take a surface sample. 150 science for a surface sample. Fantastic. So let's pop over here and we can do... Oh no, we've done an EVA report, so I don't know why it's prompting me to do another one. Oh, we're doing... this will be an EVA report landed. Okay, so let's do an EVA report landed rather than flying over. So let's EVA report. Oh, we can only carry one. Okay. Well, we'll take this one for 40 science. So let's just pop around the side. We've got no experiments on this side, just the spare battery. But here we have the Science Junior. Not close enough. So there we go. Let's take the data and restore it. Underneath, if we can get right in, underneath we have, this is the mystery goose. We'll take the data and restore that. Around this side is the pressure and temperature data. So let's squeeze in here, take the temperature, take the pressure. You don't have to reset that explicitly, it's automatically reset. And around here we've got two experiments which reset themselves on transmission. So here we've got the hydrogen data, and here we've got the laser ablation tool. So let's just pop back into the capsule. Now this is actually the hardest part of the journey, I reckon, because for some reason Kerbals can't invent ladders. So let's get the RCS on and let's just pop sideways, line up. Why they can't invent ladders I will never know. So let's just up, forward, and then F to grab and get ourselves inside. B for board. There we go. So we've got a whole lot of science to do. So temperature, we'll keep that. Surface hydrogen scan, which we can transmit for 100% of its science, and we don't have to empty it. So let's take the 30 science by transmitting it. Mystery goo observation. So that's the capsule at the back. We'll keep that because we don't get all the science. Materials study. We'll take that and just see the pod opening there at the side. Keep that. Magnetometer. That will expand from the top. There we go. We can transmit that for 25 science. And then we've got the laser scan. So that's transmitting that data. We will transmit the laser scan from Minmus's lowlands. So that confirms we're in the lowlands. So maybe we... Oh, look. That's Val. There we go. There's Val. Not literally the planet Val. But there we go. There is our Val, Valentina, 81 kilometres away. So let's transmit that. Let's do an atmospheric pressure scan, which we will keep, 60. And finally a crew report, which we will transmit. So let's transmit that and close up our experiment. So let's toggle that. So, where do we go next? Well, I assume we go downhill. So I'm just going to plan my next part of the journey and also collect up all the science again from those now full experiments before we move off.